Okay, we are back in the bedroom. I'm very sorry. The last time we were in here sitting down like this, or I was anyway, you were sitting home watching. I was a little off with my angle, and I was reviewing my Glock magazine, my pre-band magazine. So I made a new video. I made it. I was leaning over the top of my unit where I have my television, and I made that video late last night. So my Glock 23 pre-band magazine video was made sitting here. I was off camera a couple times. I went over a couple of extras of my pre-band magazine last night in plain view of the camera. But today we're not going to be talking about anything that requires review, guns, knives, magazines. Not going to be demonstrating anything with my hands. Shut the fuck up. Fuck. Okay. We're here to discuss a recent event that happened in the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico. There was a girl, and her name is now public information. If a child's name is confidential, believe me when I tell you, I will be the last person on the planet that will say that child's name publicly. The child's name has been made public. Her face has been seen on television, unobscured. Her voice has been heard on television, unobscured. So I have no shame in saying her name is Alyssa Gutierrez. She's a Hispanic girl. Obviously, Gutierrez, what the frick. She lives in New Mexico with her mother. There's no mention of her father, but she lives in Mexico with her mother. Her mother practices the Second Amendment. I don't know to what extent. Does she have a whole fucking arsenal? Does she have one or two guns here or there? Now, Alyssa Gutierrez is a typical 11-year-old girl. She was on TV. She was on the news recently. There's a video circulating on YouTube about her. She looks like an 11-year-old girl. Short shorts, flip-flops, t-shirt. She looks like the same little girl you see playing jump rope with her friends, getting her nails done, texting about what boy she thinks is cute. But she's as much a fairy princess as I am. There was an incident recently where this little girl, her male cousin, I don't know how old he was he 5 or was he 25? But he went out to run an errand. And after he'd left the house, she was home alone. And she heard a rattle at the door. And she turned the TV up. She ignored the rattle. She thought it was him playing a fucking prank on her. After a while, she realized it wasn't a prank. It was very, very serious. And the door opened with the crowbar. She, like many children, tried to hide. But thank God she quickly rationed that wasn't going to help. She got up, she went into her mother's, I think it was her mother's room, but she did get her mother's rifle. Now when I say rifle, I do not mean AR-15 with 16-inch barrel and 10 power scope. When I say rifle, I mean Barbie rifle, okay? Fucking thing. It looked like, picture a Remington 700, 1/8 scale, okay? It was about this big. It had pink furniture. It had I don't know if it was a blackened or a blued or a dark barrel. And it had a bolt that looked similar to satin or stainless. Kind of like that silver color of a satin revolver or a stainless revolver. You see how shiny it looks? Similar to that. That's what it looked like. It looked like a fucking gun that Barbie would use, you know? It looks like the type of gun you give a 5-year-old, and it was a single shotgun. I don't know what caliber it was. I did see a couple of rounds from it, but you really couldn't tell. And I'm not the greatest rifle expert in the world either. I'll let you know that for a fact. I mean, I know what a 5.56, 7.62 Soviet, 7.62 NATO, blah, 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 but couple of rifles I'm a little about, especially the real small ones. And it was a single shot gun, and she had 2 rounds. And she pointed the gun at the fucking door with the intruders there. And the intruders were all males. They were believed to be in their teens. They allegedly had masks on, and they had a long gun, according to the girl. Now, under pressure, when you look back, you've had a high pressure situation, and then you take a deep breath and look back on that high pressure situation, you're not going to remember shit, okay? You probably couldn't tell the difference between a double barrel break Wild West style 12 gauge shotgun and an M14, okay? You probably can't recall, okay? There are people that say the suspect had long black hair. The suspect was bald. There are people that say the suspect was white. The suspect was black. There are people that say the suspect was a 6 foot tall man. The suspect was a 5'2" woman. Okay? So, this little girl, even if she said what long gun it was, it probably would be inaccurate. But they had a long gun. And I'm going to check my time just to be on the safe side. I know it's not up, but I'm just going to check it. I'm way under. I got like fucking 8 minutes or 9 minutes, some shit. Okay. Now, she pointed the gun at the men, and they allegedly fled the house. By some miracle, an off-duty police officer was in the vicinity. Let me tell you how fucking rare that is, okay? Usually, problem, 911, wait 6 minutes, cop arrives. This time, a cop was right outside of her walled-in compound area, and the cop was able to see the 3 suspects. I don't know if he arrested them himself, he called for backup, but the suspects were arrested, as was a getaway driver. So there were 4 suspects in total. 1 in the car, 3 advancing on the house. And after that, this little girl went and cleared the goddamn house. She cleared her own fucking house. They tell you need to have SWAT training to clear a house. Okay? You ever see a SWAT team clear a house? They got 7 guys clearing the house, all wearing riot gear. She cleared the house by herself. I know a lot of freaking grown-ass men wouldn't do that, but she did. Now, we have to look at the situation of kids and guns, okay? I believe personally, this is my personal belief, not the law, my belief. And my belief is correct according to a lot of other people, including Pete from the Armory Channel. Yeah, Pete loves me, and I love him too. He's great. Pete from the Armory Channel had a video with his stepson, who's 13. And he lined up a whole bunch of guns, and he told his son, hand me this gun. Open, okay, like this, like that. And he was showing YouTube how he demonstrates safety with his stepson. And at the end of the video, he tells his stepson on camera, you're nowhere near ready to be on your own, blah, blah, blah. I believe that when you have a child, whether that child is 4 or 14, I believe that the child must be supervised strictly when using a BB gun, let alone a real gun. You have to teach kids not to play with guns, teach them all the proper safety techniques, make sure they're mature enough to handle them, make sure you're within 5 feet of them when they're shooting. You never let a kid use a gun unsupervised. And you tell the kid, if I catch you playing with my gun, I'm going to knock you out. That is true. Kids don't belong playing with guns. Guns are for adults. However, there is always the exception. Okay? Like, for argument's sake, do you open a fire exit? No. But if the building is engulfed in flames, you do. Okay? Do you call 911? No, you do not. But if your 85-year-old grandmother is vomiting blood, you call 911. Okay? Do you run a red light? No, you do not. But if you got a guy in the car who's bleeding to death, you run that fucking red light. There is always the exception where you must act. And you have to teach the kid, don't touch that fucking gun. But if the kid is home alone and an intruder is breaking into the home, you teach that kid he's got to keep alive. Like we tell kids all the time, If a stranger tells you, come to my car, you say no. If the stranger can't take no for an answer, you yell, scream, curse, bite, punch, kick, shoot, stab to get that stranger away from you. And we have to tell the kid, you will not get in trouble. If a stranger approaches you and you kick that stranger, you will not get in trouble. We will not punish you. The same thing goes for this situation. You have to teach the kid, if your home is being broken into, and I, the adult, your father or your mother, your uncle, am not here to defend you, you must defend yourself. And you have to tell the kid, if you reach for a gun without my permission, as long as it is a last resort, under pressure, in an intense situation, I will not punish you. This little girl, I don't know what her mother taught her. That wasn't discussed. Her mother taught her to use a rifle a couple days earlier. They didn't discuss what her mother taught her as far as safety is concerned, as far as laws are concerned. Does she know deadly force? Stuff like that. Okay? Now, if I have my time here, 11 minutes and 22 seconds. Okay. I'm going to sum one thing up and I'm going to make this into a fucking part 2. Okay. Okay. Should the girl have fired? Here's the deal. There is no law that I know of that says a suspect has to be X distance from you in order for you to fire. Okay? The law says if you are going to open fire, it doesn't matter if you're working on a BB gun or a rocket launcher. If you are going to open fire on a suspect, you have to be confident, A, it's a last resort. B, the suspect will probably kill you if you don't. Okay? We are now talking about endangerment of lives, okay? Here's a little girl who probably doesn't weigh 100 pounds. And even though I saw her standing up, she had flip-flops on, so in order to get her exact height, you would have to have her take her shoes off, stand straight up, feet together, behind the height chart. But I do know for a fact that those 3 adults, they were teenagers, but they were adults, adult bodies. Those 3 males that came into that house were physically larger than her, height, weight, and strength-wise. They were armed. She saw at least 1 gun. They might have had 17 guns, but she saw at least 1. According to the Castle Doctrine, which exists in like 48 states at least, and I know damn well it exists down south and out west, the Castle Doctrine says she's on her property. There's no retreat. You don't have to retreat from your own property. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. So the law doesn't say the suspect has to be X amount of feet away from you in order for you to shoot. If she opened fire and a bullet hit a suspect, and there were little shit bullets like that, and a little shit bullet like that is not going to kill you instantly. It's going to go into your body, do a lot of organ damage, and assuming you don't get immediate treatment, you're going to either bleed to death or die of infection. Well, assuming that happened, she reaches out. She didn't have to do it, but let's assume she did. Let's assume that she pulled the trigger, the bullet hit the suspect, bullet went into the suspect's body, and the suspect bled to death in the hospital, handcuffed to the hospital bed later that night. That little girl would have been justified. Okay? The law doesn't say space. The law just says if you're in danger. Okay? If I looked out if you have a rifle, and you look out your window, and you see a guy with an AK-47 shooting at the cops, he's 40 feet away from you. But if you get out your sniper rifle and shoot him, you're justified. Because at the time you shot him, you saw him endangering innocent people, the police, innocent citizens, okay? The law says you have to be in danger or innocent people have to be in danger. Now, me personally, would I have opened fire? You know, I don't know. I might have, I just don't know. You got to be there in order to see it. I might have opened fire. I really don't know. I got an answer machine for that. But if she opened fire, there's not a fucking jury I know of, especially down south, that would have convicted an 11-year-old girl and sent her to juvenile hall for killing 3 armed intruders. You know what? I'm gonna answer the phone, and I think I want to continue this conversation. Yeah, let's stop. Hold on.